Hello, welcome along. It is Friday. That means it's time for another Weather Studio Live, as we do these every Friday at 12:15. Thank you for joining us, especially if this is your first ever Weather Studio Live that you're watching, but also welcome back if you've watched many of these in the past. And actually, coming up, I'll be doing a quiz, and if you've watched some of these before, then that might actually help you with at least one of the questions. Ooh. I'm Alex Burkill, presenter and meteorologist here at the Met Office, and this week I'm joined by
Anna Criswick. How are you doing, Alex?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been a fairly stressful week for things at home, trying to move house, and that is, as everyone knows,
Never
really
fun.
Stressful. So, but other than that, generally okay. You doing all right? It was your birthday on Wednesday.
My birthday on Wednesday.
Did you have a nice day?
Just turned 25.
25?
Somewhere around there. But yes, I did. It kind of threw me off though, having a day off midweek. So it doesn't feel like it's Friday today, but no, it was good.
But it is Friday, and that's why we're here. Yeah. And there is actually some, wintry weather to be talking about. We'll come on to freezing rain. You're going to talk us a bit through that coming up.
Yep.
Good. And we already have quite a few questions, but as always, if you would like to ask us anything, I'll be throwing as many questions as I can at Honor over the next 45 minutes or so. It's your first time that side of the bench for a little while.
Yeah,
so
I've not been this side for a while. I don't like it. Yeah. Feels different over this side.
Well, good luck. Let's see how nice the questions are, and I think you'll do all right in the quiz. I say this every time when I pose a quiz to someone, and I'm always shocked when they don't do well, but I'm sure you'll do absolutely
I am
fine.
actually looking forward to it. It was nice not to have to think of questions this week.
Good. Right, should we start off with some questions though? So you don't have to think of the questions to ask, but you need to think of the answers. And we have already had some questions coming in for this week, but let's start off with some of the questions that we had from last week's live. And Lawrence Blackshaw 3369 asked whether or not the cold plume of air over North America a few weeks ago actually helped stop the wildfires. Obviously, the wildfires were a bit further west.
Yes, that was a good question. It's understandable to think cold air coming down acted as to kind of help ease those wildfires away, but it was actually the kind of cold plume that we got over the US in the first place that helped that high pressure and the Santa Ana winds set up. What it actually was just the Santa Ana winds, because they were quite strong and dry, they actually eased away. We started to see a bit more of a westerly form, so some more moisture air come from the Pacific. So that also helped with also a bit of rainfall. That helped ease the fires away, and just the Santa Ana winds in general, the setup easing away just helped the firefighters finish off the wildfire. So yeah, it was actually the latter. It was actually the setup in the first place of that cold plume we had a few weeks ago that helped initialise that setup for the strong, dry Santa Ana winds, but it's actually a change to a more of a westerly type with some rainfall as well.
Thanks, Anna. Really interesting.
Yes, but good question.
Good that it did eventually ease. Next question from Kia Gregory. Which is harder to predict, high or low pressure?
Yeah,
we were just higher or lower confidence with one or the other. That is a good one. We were just talking about that, weren't we?
Yeah, we were just talking about that because I mean, you said straight away, didn't you? Kind of low pressure. It can be quite tricky to forecast, particularly if we've got, say, a deepening area of low pressure, a named storm, for example. Trying to forecast the exact track of where that low pressure system's moving in, how intense it's going to be, the strongest winds, where the heaviest rainfall is going to be. That can sometimes take, especially if models are all saying slightly different stories, to get the exact track right can be difficult at times. High pressure generally is probably easier to see coming, as it were. It brings largely stable conditions, so there's almost less in a way to forecast. But with high pressure, sometimes the detail can be a little bit tricky to forecast. For example, if you start to get some fog, or if you kind of start to get or if it's quite a clear high pressure, kind of knowing where the frost patches are going to be, things like that. So sometimes the detail for high pressure can be a little bit trickier to forecast, but I'd probably argue it was low pressure. I actually wrote my master's dissertation on this.
Yeah, I'd agree. Low pressure, it's because the detail's in some way more important, because how deep it gets, when it gets to its deepest phase, and exactly the track it takes, that can play such a big part in where and when we see really strong winds and heavy rain, and so that's why it can be much harder. And like you say, you can see high pressure sometimes quite far away. We do sometimes get something called a 6 to 10 day ridge or 6 to 10 day high pressure when it always looks like high pressure is coming in around 6 to 10 days time. That can get pushed back further ahead into the future. And so sometimes we're like, oh, but you know, by next Thursday we're going to have high pressure building, and then it becomes next Friday, then it becomes next Saturday, that kind of thing. So we do see that sometimes, but generally, I'd say high pressure's slightly easier. Slightly easier. We're a bit more confident, especially.
I'd rather be forecasting for high pressure scenarios than low pressure.
And we have had high pressure scenarios recently, so you've been in luck, haven't you, with your Scandinavian highs? Right, then we have had a question from Brass086, who's been asking about lenticular cloud, which is one of my favourite clouds.
It's one of my favourites as well.
Which is your favourite? Wow, you don't have that just off the tip of your tongue.
Do you?
Yeah, it's Mamatus.
Oh, okay, classic.
It's so dramatic and
they do look really cool. Actually, I saw some of those when I went to Canada, and it looked really cool. And it was just before some thunder and lightning as well, so it was super cool. But I don't know, I just like the lenticular ones.
Okay.
I think they just look super cool. Saw those in the Falklands.
Yeah,
they look really cool. I've also got a photo of one. If I just show you. If I move over to the screen, try not to get tangled up. Here we go. So I got this image up. This is taken from the Met Office website just to kind of show how cool those lenticular clouds can really look. So I'm actually jealous if you saw one, particularly if it looks something like this. And you can kind of see the layers on the cloud too. I've actually spoken about lee waves and mountain waves in a deep dive before, and you can almost see in this picture, if I draw a little line underneath, you can almost see those kind of lee waves underneath this mountain range. If I kind of draw, so what happens is the air, if it moves into kind of the windward side of the mountain, it kind of hits that barrier, say a mountain or a hill, and it pushes that air up. As it does so, if the air's quite moist, it kind of moves upwards, it cools, it condenses, and that's when we start to see cloud form, mostly on the kind of top of the wave or on the top of the mountain. But as it then moves back down, it's lost that moisture as it moves down the lee side of the mountain, so it then becomes drier, and thus we don't get as much cloud. So you can almost see, if I just draw it here, you can almost see that wave pattern just there underneath the cloud, just about aligned with the cloud there. You kind of see where that moist air is being pushed up, some layers of cloud are being kind of formed, and as we dip below, we kind of see that drier air aloft. And what it can do as well, if we keep getting more and more air in from the west, it kind of layers up and we get this kind of lenticular kind of shaped cloud. Sometimes people have said they kind of look a little bit like UFOs, but it's kind of, we can see where that moist air is pushed up over the mountain, it creates the cloud, and then the reason it forms that kind of lenticular shape is where the air is then drying out to the lee side of the mountain as well. So that's why you kind of get the more kind of lee shape, kind of a bit more of an oval shape. But it's a pretty cool picture, isn't it?
It's a good picture, and with obviously lenticular cloud, because the mountains aren't moving, where the clouds actually form doesn't really change. So they kind of stay in the same place, even if the winds are going around, because you get that rippling effect always in the same place.
That's why people think they're UFOs, because they're not moving.
They're not moving, and because of their shape. I mean, particularly the bit in the top right of the picture. If the sun was at the right angle as well, you can really see why people mistook it in the past. Yeah,
so there you go. I hope that helped.
Thanks very much, Honor. We've had another question, this time from Nick O'Connell. And they've asked, any storms coming our way over the next few weeks?
Any storms? Oh, good question, because we had a few storms in a row, didn't we, Alex? It felt like we got quite far down on the storm naming systems, didn't we? No storms at the moment, I would say, but what we do we do have areas of low pressure out into the Atlantic. But what they're doing is they're kind of bumping into this area of high pressure that's been dominating our weather for the last week or so. This big area of high pressure over Scandinavia, that's what's been giving us that easterly flow of wind rather than kind of a prevailing westerly, which we're more used to. So a more easterly flow of wind, that's made things feel a little bit chillier, particularly the last couple of days. Temperatures have just been a little bit below average, and that more easterly feel. And when those winds have been that little bit brisker as well, that's really added onto the wind chill, particularly earlier on in the week. So no storms as such, but we do have areas of low pressure building out into the Atlantic. But where they're bumping into that area of high pressure, they're not really moving very far. But what it is doing, it is trying to drag in some frontal systems, particularly in parts of the west and southwest, which we are seeing today. So here we're going to see kind of thicker areas of clouds, some outbreaks of rain and drizzle, and because it's kind of pushing up against that high pressure, it's fairly slow moving. So that means quite a damp day on offer for, say, parts of Northern Ireland, parts of Devon and Cornwall as well, for example. And as I already mentioned, what it's also trying to do is kind of build in that milder air from the Atlantic as well. So trying to build that slightly milder air into the parts of the southwest too. So here it's going to start to not feel quite as chilly as it has done over the last couple of days as well, as we start to see that milder air push through. But what's interesting, so the cold air still building across the northeast of the country. What's interesting over the weekend is despite that kind of build of milder air in the southwest, we still see kind of on Sunday, once again, kind of a drop in those temperatures across the kind of eastern side of the UK, still seeing a bit more of a northerly flow here as that kind of high pressure still dominating to the east. So you can almost see quite a good kind of southeast northeast split with that milder air still trying to edge its way in, but towards the northeast, that's where we're going to see some colder temperatures. But there is a big area of low pressure out into the Atlantic, but it can't move far inland because that high pressure is still largely dominating. And that's pretty much the case still, even for the beginning part of the week. And it's not really going to be until possibly the middle part of next week, possibly, that we just start to see kind of that area of low pressure sweeping in more frontal systems into the parts of the west, so more of that milder air, and it's more stretching across a larger portion of the country rather than us seeing that kind of southwest northeast split. So no storms, but there are areas of low pressure in the Atlantic trying to move their way in.
Yeah, so a change of some sort. But...
a change is on its way. Still a little bit of a question mark as to when, but it looks like the middle part of next week.
You've answered it to some extent, but Gordy B. Gordon has sent in a few questions already for this live, and he's asked about the the Scandinavian High. It's sort of relented, but it never went totally away, and it's lingering.
It keeps coming back.
Yeah.
That person you don't like at a party keeps coming back.
Do we not like it? Do we not like?
Well, I think we're just ready for a change. I know I am.
A bit more sunshine, I think people.
Yeah, we want sunshine, but I mean, it looks like something milder coming in towards the middle part next week, but it doesn't look super sunny, wet and windy, but we could see some brighter interludes. So rather than all the cloud and cold, it might be a little bit of a nicer change despite the rain. It depends on your point of view. But yeah, just kind of, it's still kind of around, still even towards, it's not really till even the middle part of next week, we've still got some kind of high pressure out to the east, so it doesn't allow it to fully move into a more kind of Atlantic flow, but it just comes a little bit more dominant, I'd say, towards the middle part of next week. So
with that in mind, Pete's asked, hi, when will temperatures start to rise? And I guess it's a west-east split when it comes to that answer.
Yeah, I suppose that's good... Yeah, let's take a look at... Here we go, this is quite nice. So this is from today. So I think average for the time of year for the UK is about 7. For Scotland, I think it's a degree or 2 lower. For Northern Ireland, maybe it's 8, just off from the top of my head. So you can see widely temperatures are just about below average for the time of year today on Friday, but there is something slightly milder coming into the southwest, as I've already explained, and it really starts to turn particularly mild as we head into tomorrow. So the first part of the weekend across parts of Cornwall, for example, reaching up to around 9 Celsius, but obviously that being offset by the cloud and probably the quite damp weather. But we can't see too much of a change in temperatures even as we head into Monday. There's still that kind of southwest northeast split between that milder air trying to edge its way in. It's probably not going to be... Okay, so there's indications as we head kind of into later next week where we see more of those frontal systems move in from the west, more of that Atlantic mobility, so that milder air moving in from the relatively warmer sea. And it's when that really starts to cross the country and we see a decline in that influence of the Scandinavian High, bringing in those colder temperatures, that's when we start to see something milder next week. So it really looks like it's going to be the middle part of next week, but even then, I mean, it looks like temperatures might just start to finally move into double digits, but low double digits. But still mild for the time of year.
Yeah, and a change.
And a change.
And a change.
Yes.
Brilliant. Ian Burks has asked, what's the weather going to be like in Lincoln on Monday, please?
In Lincoln on Monday. Got any plans, does he say?
He hasn't, or they haven't mentioned any plans, but I'm imagining they have something in mind.
What day, sorry?
Monday, please.
On Monday.
But you could go through the whole weekend if you want.
Yeah, I think I will actually. Good idea. So, where are we? So this is, actually I'm just going to drag this forward to Saturday morning, because obviously during the first part of the morning it's going to be pretty damp, pretty wet actually, across parts of Devon, Cornwall, parts of Wales, central parts of England. Even further north we could see some pretty damp weather, moderate to heavy bursts possibly, as this kind of area of cloud and rain slowly pushes its way northeastwards across the country. A chance we could see something a little bit clearer to the northwest of the country, even towards the southeast. So where we see some clearer spells overnight, a chance we could see some patchy frost possibly during the first part of the day. But where the main risk lies is where this area of rain is, because obviously we've got that milder air, we've got the colder air, and as we see that rain falling into the colder air, there's a chance we could see snow. It doesn't look like it's going to be particularly significant snow, probably largely confined to higher ground. But nevertheless, there could be some snow. We could also see some ice. Now that's as a result of a freezing rain risk. It's not super common here in the UK, but over kind of later today and through the weekend, we do have a risk of freezing rain, which I can explain more in a moment. But what that means is essentially we've got kind of super cooled water droplets falling onto a quite cold surface. That could lead to some quite icy stretches by the morning. So even if you're not in these areas across the northwest or the southeast where there is a risk of some patchy frost, even where we see the cloud and rain, there's also a chance we could see some icy stretches, particularly around high ground. So across Wales, parts of the Pennines, for example, there is a risk of some freezing rain. So that's kind of to start off with on Saturday, but we do slowly start to see a shift sort of later into the afternoon of that area of cloud and rain slowly pushing its way northeastwards. But where it's fairly slow moving, that means kind of northern parts of Wales, central parts of England, perhaps parts of East Anglia could see quite a wet day on offer through much of the day. Some brighter spells perhaps to the north, but there's a fair few showers moving in here as well, and this could once again also bring a risk of snow to higher ground. But the good news is if you find yourself across kind of Devon, Cornwall, southern parts of Wales, it's probably going to brighten up later on into the afternoon. So quite a wet start here, but conditions generally improving later Saturday. And then still, I mean, that rain, it does look like it fizzles out a little bit overnight, but there's probably still going to be lots of low cloud around, perhaps some fog during first part of the morning, some drizzly conditions, still a chance we could see some kind of moderate pulses in that area of rain across parts of Northern Ireland. Still a fair few showers, still with the under the influence of that easterly flow around those North Sea coasts, so it's still a chance we could see some snow here. And I think even during Sunday morning, there's still a risk we could see some ice as a result of some freezing rain, but slightly clearer perhaps across parts of Wales and parts of the south and southwest. So once again, we could see some patchy frost here. But then through kind of Sunday afternoon, maybe some brightness, perhaps a little bit more, but there's still going to be plenty of cloud around, some outbreaks of rain and drizzle, and still a chance of those snow showers moving into the northeast. And then what was it? Lincoln on Monday.
Oh yeah, the original question.
The original question, I got carried away, sorry. But it's probably going to be a slightly better day. It's probably still going to be fairly chilly. Still got that slight kind of southeasterly flow, fair amount of cloud around. But it looks like it's probably going to be the slightly better day compared to the weekend. So
yeah, so cloudy, chilly, but dry.
Yeah.
Or likely to be dry. I guess we have to bear in mind that system out in the west bashing against the high pressure in the east.
Yeah.
There is, question marks as to exactly how far west how far east, that rain is actually going to get. But Lincoln looks like it will stay largely dry.
You're in the best position, I'd say.
Now you mentioned freezing rain.
Yes.
Go for it.
Oh, okay. What I'm going to do, guys. I'm sure many of you guys have seen these already. We do bring these up from time to time, but I know if you haven't seen them before, they can look a little bit scary. I was certainly scared when I first saw one of these. This is called a tephigram, really useful piece of information that we use here at the Met Office. So I think pretty much all forecasters use these. And when we see a profile like this, so this is kind of a profile of kind of a column of air in the atmosphere, and it tells us a lot about, well, it tells us a lot about a few things really, but focusing on temperature, for example. So this is what the temperature looks like as we go high up in the atmosphere. So further down is the ground, and then we go high up into the atmosphere as we move up this kind of graph. And these lines, these kind of diagonal lines moving across here, these are lines of constant temperature. So for example, here, line of constant temperature of -2, -1, and then this red dashed line is a line of constant temperature known as an isotherm. This is where our freezing level is. So this is our line of constant temperature of 0 degrees Celsius. And this dark blue line, not the dashed one, the straight blue line, is kind of the temperature of the air as you move upwards. So anything to my right, so to the right of this red line, is below freezing.
So to the left as we look at it.
To the left as we look at it, but to my right. So to the left as we look at it, that's below freezing. And then to my right, that's above freezing. Right?
Yeah.
Right or left? So as we move down, so for example, if we have kind of a cloud and it's precipitating, if it's below 0, then it's probably going to be falling as snow. But what happens in this particular profile, as the precipitation falls down, likely falling as snow as we're left of the red line, then it starts to move into some slightly warmer air, so then it's above freezing. So what happens with the precipitation? It starts to melt slightly, but then as we move closer to the surface, you can see that line once again moving to the left of the red line. So once again, it's below freezing. So those droplets then become super cooled. They don't actually have enough time, we're quite close to the surface now, to form as snow like they did earlier on, kind of higher up in the atmosphere. So they become super cooled droplets, and they don't really freeze until they reach a cold surface, which is what we have here. So that's when we can lead to a risk of ice and black ice, kind of icy stretches, some big kind of icy stretches first thing in the morning. So this is what a typical profile would look like if we were expecting freezing rain. And this was actually taken for Saturday morning across parts of the northern parts of the Pennines. So it can be a real hazard because it can create kind of quite slippery surfaces and obviously some impacts as a result of that. If that didn't make sense, I hope it did, but we've actually released recently a video of Alex Deacon explaining freezing rain, and we've got a little snippet of it for you now.
There's a narrow layer of the atmosphere just above the surface that's below freezing. Then you have this zone where temperatures are above freezing, above that, and then you're back below freezing up at cloud level. So what you're going to have now is that snow forms in the cloud, starts to fall. It melts on the way down through this warmer zone. And then, right at the end of its journey, the rain, because it's now rain, goes through this bottom part of the atmosphere that is below freezing. And here's the key. The rain doesn't instantly freeze here. It travels through this layer still as a liquid. As it falls through this final layer that is below freezing, it becomes...
Oh, okay, I haven't actually fully watched that, but that was a really good snippet. And did anyone else think that looked like a burger? We were talking about that this morning, weren't we? It actually does quite look like a burger. But yeah, really interesting video on freezing rain. It's part of the new Evergreen videos that we're doing. So make sure you go take a look at that one and make sure you give it a like while you're there as well. So if my tephigram didn't explain it well enough, hopefully the burger diagram did.
Yeah, quick question on the tephigram. The dotted red line, that's the...
So this is the dew point temperature. So this is the temperature that air would have to cool to in order to become saturated. So this is also a really good indication of what the air is doing, because you can see here these lines are really close together. So it's likely that the air is fully saturated, and that means there's going to be cloud here. But if they're further apart, that basically means the air is drier. So when the...
That's the dotted blue line.
The dotted blue line, yeah.
That's the dotted red line, sorry.
Sorry, I thought you said... Sorry, yes, that's the dotted blue line, so the one next to this. This dotted red line, that's the 0 degree isotherm. So the lines of constant temperature, so the dark red one We make these ones darker just so essentially we can see where the freezing level is, so that we know that anything to the left of this line is below freezing and anything to the right is above freezing. So that helps us to forecast precipitation. And in this case, it helps us forecast the freezing rain.
And there's a difference between freezing rain and hail, isn't there?
Yes, difference between freezing rain and hail. Hail's more it's where it kind of bumps up with the water droplets high up in the high up in the cloud, and then it kind of falls. It doesn't become then super cooled again.
No, it's just, it's just ice crystals within like big clouds, cumulonimbus, for example, going up and down because there's enough updraft to lift them up sometimes. But then when they eventually get too heavy after bumping into too many and joining together, then you get big lumps of ice, which comes in the form of hail. And so, you can get really large hail if there's enough energy, enough oomph coming from underneath to keep the hail going up and down in the cloud. That's when you get really large hail. So very different beast compared to freezing rain, which is, freezing rain is rain. It's just super cooled, which a lot of people seem to like that definition. Definitely worth checking out Alex's video. I think a few people have already watched it. Philip Murphy's already said it's an excellent video. So I think it's gone down well and perfectly timed for the fact that we do have some freezing rain in the forecast this weekend.
That is exactly right.
Then I did have one more question that I wanted to throw at you before we go. Oh, so black ice, that's a risk, isn't it?
Yes, black ice. Black ice, because normally, obviously, we have the kind of, obviously, falling as snow, falling as rain, then it's super cool droplets, but they actually don't freeze until they touch the surface also below freezing. So that can lead to, black ice, which is ice, you can't really see it, can you? So that's why it's such a risk, because you don't think it's icy and then you carry on walking and then all of a sudden you're slipping over. Oh yeah, and driving.
So that's when it becomes really treacherous. So do be aware. We do have a warning out.
I was just going to say that, actually. I forgot to mention that, didn't I? We do have a warning out. This is it's from about 6 a.m. on Saturday through to about 2 p.m, I think. Largely confined to the northeast of England. So this is for snow and ice. As already showed kind of that area of rain as it pushes up into that colder air. That could bring a risk of snow. But it's only a few centimetres kind of above, over high ground or above any hills. We could see a few flurries to lower levels, but unlikely to be kind of impactful to lower levels. But also a chance here, particularly across the Pennines, so particularly across any high ground, that's also where we're going to see that risk of freezing rain, and hence the kind of ice risk. But kind of obviously where the air is relatively cold, any kind of moisture source could lead to some ice. So it's not just kind of across the Pennines where we've got the freezing rain risk. So so that warning is valid early Saturday until the early afternoon, 6 till 2 p.m. So do take care if you're in those regions.
Right. It's what you've been looking forward to all week. It's time for the quiz.
Okay.
Now, Anna, it's been a little while since you've done a quiz, or at least you've been on this side, so good luck.
It was before Christmas.
Okay, and I don't think I've ever set one for you.
No, I don't think you have.
I think you avoided my last one. Aidan had to take over, but there isn't really a set thing. There are themes, plural, in as much as there are lots of themes, so every question's got a different theme. So I guess there isn't really a theme this month, or this week even, for the quiz. But of course, happy Valentine's Day. Today is Valentine's Day. So the first question is linked to that.
Okay.
Now, the question is basically, which is wettest, Valentine's Day, Christmas Day, or New Year's Day? In as much as, on which day have we recorded the highest amount of rainfall? As in, is the wettest, I've really explained this badly, bad start to the quiz. So
what?
which is wettest? The wettest Valentine's Day on record, the wettest Christmas Day on record, or the wettest New Year's Day on record?
Okay, interesting. Which is the wettest? Well, because it's Valentine's Day, that makes me want to say Valentine's Day. Or is it a trick? Because I do trick questions from time to time.
Let's see if anyone has. Let's see. We've had a few votes.
Tricky, because they're all in the winter.
In order to see the answers, do I have to vote myself?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I find that confusing with our polls.
I can't. Oh no, I'm not logged in. I got a new laptop, so I can't.
I know.
I'm not logged
I can tell you
so-
45%.
Wait, you're not allowed to look at the answers?
Oh, I've just
Surely-
got the poll. I'm not looking at the answers.
Send me your answers first before you start asking the audience. Oh my gosh.
Help me, guys. Help me. I'm going to guess, because I don't know,
Okay.
Valentine's Day.
Okay. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It might be right.
I reckon it's a trick to make me think it's a trick. It's not a trick at all.
I am not that clever. Okay, then question 2. Well done if you answered along. We'll come to the answers at the end. So question 2. Now, unfortunately, my rabbit died yesterday.
Yeah.
He was nearly 10 years old, and unfortunately his companion died last year as well. So he'd been on his own for a little while, which isn't ideal. And almost 10 is a good age.
That's a good age for a rabbit.
But very sad. But in honour of him, I couldn't make it that weather-related a question, but I tried.
That's okay.
In which country is Rabbit Island?
Oh, I
So-
think you've told me this before.
Yeah, so the multiple choice options are A, Japan, B, Philippines, and C, Thailand.
Aww.
Oh yeah, so there we go.
There's
Oh,
some
can we
nice
get the pictures back up,
pictures.
Greg? Is that possible?
You've shown me those pictures before.
I have shown you those pictures. So Rabbit Island is...
That's a much better view than my face.
We'll just keep that on through the rest of the quiz. So Rabbit Island, yeah, I have visited there, so that's a little hint or clue if you know where I've been in the world. Yeah, but I'll talk about where exactly it is when we get to the answers. So,
Oh, very nice picture.
question 3. It was your birthday on Wednesday.
Yes, it was.
Speaking of birthdays, in which month is the Met Office's birthday? Is it in June, July, or August? So a little
I
clue.
should probably know that one.
Probably should. We're a summer baby. So was the Met Office founded in June, July, or August? This won't help, but last year we did celebrate an anniversary. Like obviously every year there's an anniversary. But like
Funny
last
enough,
year's,
we do it every year.
Last year, I mean, I can tell you it was founded in 1854. So that was, that.
I don't think I've ever been invited to the Met Office's birthday party, so that's why I don't know.
It was quite a big deal last year. I think
it?
I
Was
did
it
a video about it. So glad to know you watched that.
I
You're
must have missed
supportive.
that one. Okay, so what's it, June, July, or August?
Let's have a look.
June, July, or August.
A couple of comments. I promise you I didn't steal any of the rabbits.
Suspicious.
Suspicion. Oh, here we go. How do I get close? Oh, okay. Bear with.
Even the Met
I can
Office
see the
doesn't know the answer
so,
to this one.
right. For the Rabbit Island poll, most people were going with Japan.
Ooh, that is what I went for.
Great. Cool. Question 4. Now, question 4 and question 5, they aren't multiple choice, but that doesn't mean that they're necessarily that hard. So, behind you, Honor, is our wall, our shelves full of exciting weather-related bits and bobs, various equipment, and some books. Now, looking at the wall, there is one piece of, there's something that I added this week. So what on the wall is new? Now, if you're watching...
You added something.
You should be able to see it. I can see it in the picture. So yeah, I have added something to the wall. So what is new? Take a deep, good look. I'm afraid there's no multiple choice because if I gave on multiple choice, it would be too easy.
I've stared at these shelves so many times.
Yeah.
So I should know. That book maybe looks new. Does it? I mean, it doesn't look new. It actually looks quite old, but it looks new to the
I
shelves.
hope it's not new because
Someone's dropped it in a
that's not the
puddle.
answer.
It's not the answer.
No.
Okay. Oh, I don't know. Is it a book?
I'll give you a clue. It's not a book.
Okay, so it's not a book. Could it be hidden?
No, you can 100% see it.
Oh, I don't know. It all looks quite recognisable. Is it an instrument?
It's a piece of equipment, yeah,
Ooh.
of some sort.
I'm torn between whatever that is and that. Have I seen that before?
I don't know where you're pointing. Pointing at, I can't remember what that is.
Oh, maybe you don't then. Oh, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to have to
I'm going to have to hurry you because I think people are getting tired of just hearing you pointing at things.
I'm going to get this.
I can't see you anyway. Okay.
No, it's not that. I changed my answer.
Okay.
I'm going to take this.
You can grab it. Great.
Oh.
Put it on the table. Show the crowd.
I feel like, I don't know. I have a terrible memory.
And last but not least, question 5. Last week you gave Aidan a riddle, so I thought let's bring the riddle back.
We'll
try and make it
riddles,
right. Again, that's not multiple choice. I think that's cheating with a riddle. So, what goes up when rain comes down?
Oh, I got it.
Good.
I think.
See, I think you've done very well in this quiz.
Oh, I hope I've got 5 out of 5 because then I think I'll be the first one. But from your face, I don't think I have.
You've not got 5, but you have done very, very well. Lots of people giving suggestions for the riddle: pressure, dew point, humidity. I guess pressure.
When the rain comes down.
When the rain comes down.
Normally low pressure, right?
No, not. It's less clever than that. So, but most people getting the right answer. So well done, Jane. Well done, Gary. Well done, Liam. Lots of people getting the right answer. Yeah. Sigh cry? Is that your dad?
Yeah.
That is your dad. Your dad's got the answer. So well done him. Right. Should we go through the answers?
Yes.
So let's start off. And the first question: on which day which day's highest rainfall total was the highest?
Yes.
On record. Valentine's Day, Christmas Day, or New Year's Day? Now, you said Valentine's Day because that's today and you thought that was the link. I get it, but no. So the answer, well done if you said it was B, Christmas Day. Just so you're aware, the record for the highest rainfall recorded on Valentine's Day is only 109 millimetres. That was actually last year.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Whereas Christmas Day's record is 165 millimetres. So significantly wetter.
It's not very Christmassy, is it?
No.
Well, technically it is, but...
Well, yeah, really, it was Christmas Day.
But it's not the Christmas spirit.
Yeah. But well done to everyone who got that right.
So it wasn't a trick of a trick of a trick?
No. No, I'm not. Bear in mind, just no.
Go for it, okay.
There's no trickery in this world. Question 2. So, no scores yet, but well done anyway. Question 2. Where in the world is Rabbit Island? Which country? The answers were A, Japan, B, Philippines, or C, Thailand. And you correctly said A, Japan.
You've
well
told me
done.
that
I have told you because
I
think you were thinking of going to Japan at some point, and it's a lovely country, wonderful, so different to what goes on here. And as a lover of rabbits, heading to Rabbit Island was a real treat for me. Fortunately, I was able to go before it became like Instagram crazy, and I don't even know what the rules are for visiting it now, but when I went, it was quite quiet. And so rabbits were jumping all over me, and it was probably my favourite day ever.
Really?
Yeah, don't tell my wife and my kids that, but yeah, probably the happiest day of my life. Within reason. And it was like my favourite place on earth. So,
I really want to go.
Yeah, for people who don't know, the history behind it is kind of near Hiroshima. It's in that area of Japan, but I think it was during World War II, they used the island as a place to test like chemical warfare. And so they had like these animals, like rabbits and other things, in their labs and stuff. And then when the war was coming to an end, they just abandoned it and left. And then the rabbits escaped from their cages and stuff. And because there were no other predators on this island, they could just flourish.
Yeah, they've taken over.
Yeah, so not only are there hundreds and hundreds of rabbits, but they've grown through generations without predators. And so they're not scared of you. They know you bring, like, you give, like, you can get food from humans and stuff, so they just flock to you and jump over you, so it's really fun.
Yeah, fun.
But I think tourists have semi-ruined it.
Oh.
But anyway, question 3. Which month is the Met Office's birthday? So the answers were A, June, B, July, C, August, and yes, it was a guess, I think, but you said...
No, I knew that, I was just playing it.
You said August, yes. The Met Office was founded by... Robert Fitzroy on the 1st of August 1954.
Also, it was only just August.
Yeah, only just August, but it was August. So well done. I think most people got that one right as well. Then the picture round for those at home and for you real life
This was
picking
stressful.
game. You did very well. Which item on the wall was new? And you're right, it is this. It's a Galileo thermometer. And it works by the different balls. I don't know if you can see it. The different glass balls are filled with different dense liquids with different amounts of density. And so then when the water warms up or cools down, or I assume it's water, it's probably maybe some other liquid, warms up or cools down, then various bubbles rise and go down. And so then depending on which bubble is towards the top, the lowest one, is that the 22? I can't read. Yeah, 22. So it's around 22 degrees in here at the moment.
That feels about right. It does feel warm in here.
So
have I messed it up now by moving it? Or can it be moved?
I don't know.
Oh.
I mean, I moved it here at the beginning of the week, so it's
sometimes
fine.
when they say, because I know the storm glass for me, you have to leave it for a few days.
Oh,
Apparently to settle in its environment.
You probably don't want to be shaking it, but it's fine. Then last but not least, question 5, the riddle, what goes up when rain comes down?
I said umbrella.
You did say umbrella, and that is right. Lots of people got umbrella right, and it was correct. So, by my maths, and my maths is excellent, you got 4 out of 5, which was really well done. Yeah, exactly. I said it was a good quiz
Yeah, it
this
was
week.
a good quiz.
There we go.
Nice.
So that's quiz. Let us know how well you did. I'll read some of the comments. So lots of people getting 3, lots of people getting 5. Jay's transport, 1 out of 5. At least you got 1. Well done.
Did anyone beat me?
I can't.
Or am I
see.
queen of the quiz?
Paul Skilling only got 1, but got 4 last week. Your dad only got 2 out of 5, so he's not done that well. So you've got bragging rights this week over him. I can't see anyone having got 5, so not to worry.
Queen of the quiz.
Well done, everyone. Anyway, right, before we finish, we did have another question asking which is more common, snow on Valentine's Day or snow on Christmas. Now, I didn't have enough time to go back through all the Valentine's Days and all the Christmases on record to see which one we had the most amount of, or which one we've more often had snow on, but I was able to have a quick look at some statistics, and it generally looks like Valentine's Day is more likely to have some snow, in as much as the greatest snow depth that we've recorded on a Valentine's Day is 70 centimetres, whereas the greatest snow depth we've recorded on a Christmas Day is 47 centimetres. Oh. And also, we on average, we have around 3.9 days of snow in December, whereas in February we have around 5.6. So just generally that suggests that, it's more likely for Valentine's Day than Christmas. So maybe
very romantic.
Yeah, maybe we should change the song to "I'm Dreaming of a White Valentine's Day" instead, because we have a slightly greater chance of getting that.
Oh, that's another good one for a quiz, pub quiz question, possibly.
Yes, you might need to do a bit more research because my science, I've used a couple of statistics to imply that that's the truth, but it's not 100% without going back through every Valentine's Day and Christmas Day and counting exactly
that's fair.
Which one. Andrew Jones pointing out that those for the riddle, if you said humidity or dew point, you were correct for the riddle, because yes, I suppose they do go up if it's raining. But that's not the game.
Bit of a naff riddle. That was the answer.
It's not the most fun. It's not the most fun. Right. Did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about before we headed off?
We did have a question. It was in my deep dive, I think. Oh yes, it was from James Waitman 1140. Has the recent weather been abnormally cloudy?
Yes.
Does the Met Office keep sunshine records? Yes, we do. Which really I do have, if I come back to my screen.
We love to share the sunshine records when it's been a really gloomy, cloudy period.
Yeah, it almost looks as grey as the clouds or the skies have been over the last week or so. So it does actually say here you'd normally expect a total of around 43% at this time of the month, because we're halfway through the month now, I think, aren't we? 2 weeks.
Well, today is halfway through, but I think when you got that chart, we didn't have yesterday's data. We don't have today's data either. So the up to the 12th. Not quite halfway through.
So this is up to Wednesday. But you can see, so this is the sunshine duration on average, and you can see these slightly darker colours. That's the kind of lowest percent, so kind of between 30 and 50%. We can see to the northwest, slightly higher, kind of between 70 and 90%, I think that is. And that's where we've seen kind of the best of the brightness, isn't it? So that's where we're more towards average for the time of year. but it's usually the northwest that kind of, when we're in kind of when we get our frontal systems from the Atlantic, it's normally the northwest that catch kind of the short straw and they get all the cloud and the rain. But where we've had this kind of easterly component to the wind, that's dragged all the cloud and the moisture kind of more towards eastern and southern parts of the UK. So that's where we're largely kind of just below average still. But we are only still halfway through the month, but at the moment kind of below average in terms of kind of sunshine hours that we've seen, particularly across the south, central parts, and then it largely confines to kind of eastern parts of the UK, but it's kind of the northwest where we're kind of slightly more towards average for the time of year. So we do keep these records, and then when we go into a new month, or a new season, we normally talk about the kind of average statistics, don't we? And it'll be spring, meteorological spring in March. Right?
Yeah. In the start of March. So a few more weeks to go. Only a couple of weeks to go.
Then we can talk about what winter's been like.
This time in 2 weeks' time, we'll be doing a deep dive again. You and me, but roles reversed. In fact, actually, we're back again next week.
Oh yeah. I think I'm this side again actually. So I have to see if I can beat my my
let's
4
see if you can get your Weather Studio
see if I
live.
Get 5 out of 5.
Let's see if that's I'll make the quiz super hard. So because then maybe I'll be the first to get 5 out of 5 the week after. So yes, Honor and I are back again next week. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all the questions, all the comments. Do keep them coming. We'll try and answer any that you put through. We'll try and answer them next week. Thank you, Honor, as well, for all your insights. As always, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this with anyone that you think might be interested in these videos. We do them every week, 12:15 on a Friday, and especially when there's severe weather around. I know it's only a yellow warning, but nonetheless, the snow, the ice across some parts of northern England could cause some problems as we go through tomorrow, so do take care. Like I said, freezing rain does bring the risk of black ice, which could be pretty treacherous driving conditions, so especially if you're heading out on the roads, do be advised. Otherwise, we do hope you have a lovely weekend, and we will see you again next week.
Bye-bye.